Okay. Hey, hello everyone. I'm very excited to have a special guest today, Vicky Sareen. Vicky is a seasoned strategy and transformation leader with over 15 years of experience leading complex digital transformations, especially across industrial manufacturing value chains. At Forbes Marshall, he led end-to-end transformation of their distribution operations, overall improving efficiency, boosting revenue, and elevating customer satisfaction. What sets Vicky apart in my conversations is he's very passionate about human-centered AI. That means using AI and technology not just for growth, but do a meaningful societal impact. That's what he excites him. That led to the conversation and finally this fireside chat. He holds a master's degree from Warwick University and MBA from London's Business School. I'm thrilled to have you, Vicky. Welcome. And I think the hopefully the audience find this conversation very useful. With that, I will ask you to introduce yourself. Hopefully, I didn't do full justice.
No,
So,
no,
anything
no.
you want to add, please introduce yourself. Then we
Thanks,
can go
thanks,
deeper.
Amar. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me here. And you're absolutely right. We definitely connected around the human-centered aspect of AI in the ethics forum at
Yeah.
the conference, and
Yeah.
I think that was a shared connection there. I have yes, I've been in the industrial manufacturing sector for uh, most of my professional career. Played different roles in marketing in the CEO's office, and then recently in this assignment that I was part of. I think a common theme for me has been the use, integration, or the application of technology in my various roles. And I think that's the passion that I have, is the benefit it can give to businesses in terms of productivity and better outcomes. But at the same time, what I have a strong belief that I also have is fundamentally a technology should work for the individuals that are contributing. And so I've always looked at it from that lens as to how are my people benefiting fundamentally the use of technology.
Yeah, fantastic, fantastic. So, Vicky, usually we start with a simple icebreaker kind of a question.
So,
Then mostly I'll jump in as needed, but mostly I want to explore this whole topic of in manufacturing, how do AI is impacting, how opportunities are being created, so the listeners can walk away with, hey,
so
I didn't know about this about AI in manufacturing. These are the challenges, these are the trends, these are the idea. So we'll start with the simple icebreaker. Is there any one recent, it can be announcement or it can be an
sure.
innovation in AI that you're excited about? Let's talk about that. Then I have a few more questions.
Sure, absolutely. I think one of the most exciting innovations in manufacturing, it's not really manufacturing in general, but
Can be
it's
anything.
probably
Yeah.
applicable everywhere.
Yeah.
But I find it particularly powerful in terms of what it could do in the supply chain space and manufacturing in general.
Mhm.
Is now the advent of agentic AI.
Mhm.
And of course there's been discussion about it for some time, and we can now see that there is some concrete progress towards this towards agentic AI and the agentic workflows in general.
Definitely.
And From a perspective of manufacturing and supply chain, I think this is quite an incredible application. It enables one to entirely relook at workflows, do away with a lot of tasks which are repetitive in nature, but also complex. So
True.
these aren't really routine repetitive tasks which are already automated using RPA or something, but because they are complex, they can now use an agentic workflow to be
Mhm.
able to recognize. Give you a simple example top of my head.
Mhm.
When we look at the simple order to cash process,
Mhm.
one of the most labor intensive activities is the recognition of the order itself. And
Mhm.
if it is a very simple consumer goods order, it probably moves very quickly. But
Mhm.
in the context of complex industrial processes and industrial manufacturing, you have highly technical BOQs. and that requires individuals to spend significant amounts of time translating this activity. It's repetitive, at the same time requires a significant amount of judgment, technical know-how, commercial know-how, tax information, and so it's not just a linear process, you know.
Right,
I
right.
think agentic workflow has a significant opportunity to impact
Perfect.
this, and of course, you can extrapolate this to various other processes that may be in the entire value chain there.
Yeah, great example, Vicky. I think I just want to reiterate one point to the listeners is if it is a very standard repetitive process, traditional RPA could have worked, right?
Right.
Right. So you can just say, hey, this column, take it from this data source. This you put it here, then go to the next step. You can do it. If it is super complex, you need an expert like a doctor do it. It's very hard at this stage. But it's a domain of options, right? Go look for these are the 10, 20, 100 options. Still is doable. And it is not exactly the same each time. It is
Yeah.
different, but is
Right.
within domain of possibilities.
Right.
So an agent is a
Absolutely.
perfect example fit here because it
Yeah.
can go fill that, if and you can create a much higher productivity boost from this instead of humans doing it. This agent may be a perfect fit. A great example, Vicky. I'm also very excited about agents. We are super excited. We have some customers who are deploying some cutting edge agents. We'll love to talk at some point.
I'd love to know more about that. It's
For
uh, it's
sure.
very fascinating work. Yeah.
Yeah, well, definitely, it's more about multi-agent, the
Right.
complexity in once you introduce multi-agent, then orchestrator becomes a problem, policy becomes a problem, privacy,
Right.
security, compliance becomes a problem. So it
Yeah.
creates a whole host of problems. So I love
Yeah. And I
to
think also maybe guardrails in this space become very important because you want
absolutely.
you want an agent to kind of work within the silo that has
Exactly.
been defined for it. Look only at the specific options. Look only at the allowable fields and function
Exactly.
within that space. You don't want it to hallucinate or innovate beyond that space.
Exactly. And tighten it in a way that
Yeah.
it's not doing autonomously taking some action which is not
Yeah.
supposed to create
Right.
some
Right.
assets there.
Right. Yeah.
Let's go to the first question I had is where do you see the biggest impact of AI in manufacturing? When you say manufacturing, there is supply chain, then there is production, there is a shop floor production, then there is shipping. Many things involve
Yeah.
manufacturing, procurement too.
Right.
In this whole and R&D also. So in this whole manufacturing, where do you see opportunities today? And if you can also little bit extrapolate in the next near term, right? In a 2 to 3 years, where do you see opportunities? That'll be a good starting point.
Sure. So I think one of the areas, and I think this is pretty common, one of the areas that AI is being used extensively
Mhm.
is in the domain of supply chain. It's
Mhm.
fundamentally a very good predictor, and as a prediction model, a lot of AI is being used in this space.
Mhm.
Fundamentally, manufacturing planning, inventory planning, demand sensing, and those are kind of applications which are being used where it's kind of stable use at this point of time, and companies have been innovating in this space for a while. uh, I think what's interesting about artificial intelligence is the potential to actually inform and influence business models as companies go forward. And so, if you look at in most of the industrial or solutioning manufacturers who essentially provide solutions as along with their products, companies like Forbes Marshall, for example, where
Mhm.
we are essentially delivering solutions to our customers, which is a combination of products which are enabling them to provide a certain outcome. There is a significant opportunity to actually
Could you double
digitize.
click on that, Vicky, when
Yeah,
people like me are not familiar with the multiple models here? So
right.
when you're thinking solution, uh, can an example of where and how
So
this
great.
solution?
Great. Let me
Solution.
kind of give you an example of what we do
Yeah.
at Forbes Marshall, where we one of our one of our businesses is
Mhm.
essentially around helping our customers optimize their energy systems, uh,
Okay.
and particularly around the steam usage and the steam generation in their factories. Now, this
Okay.
is actually fundamentally, it's quite complex. It involves multiple products. It's mainly so far been a mechanical solution with
Mhm.
mechanical devices. Of
Mhm.
course, I can see industry and many other companies who are in a similar space move
Mhm.
towards more digitized applications as well. So
Mhm.
we're talking about integrating IoT along with our products,
Oh,
and that
okay.
fundamentally informs, now gives us a lot more information around what's happening around our products, how the product itself is working. So the opportunity to of having digital twins,
Mm.
which inform the product, but also the system, and then and that has the potential of informing business models as we go forward, to translating them more towards services, and
Mm.
you know uh, so I think that's a phenomenal opportunity out there, and I can see some companies already doing a lot in that space, some
Mm.
companies aspiring to get there.
Okay.
Of course it's a very it's and this is something that depends on business to business. There isn't a standard template there, uh,
Mm.
you know
So, if I have to reiterate what you're saying is, hey, the people who are giving a pointed like I'm only dealing with this particular component, I'll deliver the component. Now I have an opportunity to give a solution which is more of, hey, that involves a little bit of understanding what's happening around the product. Yeah, right. And we have the data now, so I can go to
right,
the outcome of the customer. The outcome of the customer is buying my product to do something, right?
correct,
Or reduce the cost or improve their productivity or
right, right.
pointer solution to a long-term solution plus service. Fantastic. Okay. And
Yeah.
this is you see this opportunity specifically in this particular area of supply chain, this kind of manufacturing, or is it widely applicable to other areas, Vicky, in the next 2 3 years?
I so my background is industrial
Mm,
manufacturing, so I can speak for that.
mm,
Consumer goods obviously is a different world in itself.
mm,
We already, I mean, in terms of electronic devices, we already have connected devices in our homes. Our
mm.
televisions talk to our phones,
True,
and
true, absolutely.
so on and so forth. So
Yeah,
that's a whole different world altogether.
yeah,
But in
yeah.
terms of in terms of industrial manufacturing, I think this is one of the big opportunities. I
Okay.
think and I think it's the journey starts with building the technology,
Mhm.
then the data, and then
Mm,
fundamentally you then have a layer of artificial intelligence which
mm.
enables you to make sense of this information that's out there, because you're really looking at millions of data points coming into you.
And these are the IoT kind of data
Right,
points, right? Just want to
right,
clarify. Okay.
right, right.
Okay. So this is an interesting thing. I would love to go to the challenges, but one interesting thing you're saying is, hey, the consumer IoT is very different than industrial IoT, right? You're not
Yes, absolutely,
lot more
absolutely.
data, lot more, threatening, life-saving, security, safety aspects of the data is also flowing in
I think,
versus,
yeah,
yeah.
you're right. I mean, in terms of the quantum of data, I think it depends.
Mhm.
Maybe we as consumers consume a lot more data and beam a lot more data.
True. Like video
But yeah,
streaming.
but in terms of industrial technology, what we're looking at is operating in harsh environments,
True.
and that's important to consideration.
Mm,
Secondly, what we do informs also safety and security at our customers,
mm,
so that's an added element out there. You don't want to draw the wrong conclusions and then have an industrial accident that probably comes around.
true. True.
So those things become a lot more important in this
Okay.
context.
Okay. And yeah, this is fantastic. How do you think about challenges in this space? What are the some of the hurdles? It can be a technical, and if you can touch all, that'll be great. Technical aspects of it. Then there's organizational aspect of it, even cultural. I'll put it. So, how do you think the challenges in adopting AI in manufacturing? How do you see it playing out?
Uh, I think there are a few things that combine the challenges out there.
Mhm.
I think the first challenge is simply data.
Okay.
And data governance, structures. I mean, you have data silos in certain spaces, and you have
Mhm.
data gaps in certain spaces. Simply
True.
because as legacy as manufacturing organizations,
Mhm.
uh, we uh, we do not really measure as many parameters as say a technology startup would.
Mm.
So if you look at an
Traditionally,
e-com
you didn't have a
startup,
way to connect and
right,
process it. You didn't
right,
care.
right, exactly. So the first part is the digitization internally, uh,
Mm.
which is looking at legacy systems. Are they, for example, IP compatible? To simply have an IP integrate data from external sources
Mm.
into your primary source. That's one of the challenges from a data
Okay.
perspective. Uh, uh, Second part is that the data gaps,
Mm.
and that is one of the more significant challenges,
Mm.
because you may want to understand, for example, how your product is performing in a certain space and maybe in a certain experimental application or something. Getting data from there is actually quite hard, right?
Mm.
Some of the data gaps are actually easier to fulfill. For example, within the supply chain space, if you're
Mm.
able to plug into the IP of your logistics provider, quite frankly, you get significant amounts of visibility simply because you're looking at it as an alliance, as a partnership. But when it comes to proprietary stuff, that's a little bit of a challenge there. Uh,
It is because the customers are not willing to wiki because you deployed your product and customers are using it. One, you said they didn't even collect the data, not a problem, right? Second, you're saying is there is challenges in the gaps we're not getting. Is it because your customers won't share or worried about sharing, or they didn't want to make the investments?
so I think it's a combination out
Mm.
there. It's of course about proprietary information coming in from somebody else, and
Okay.
that's a concern. Uh,
Mhm.
Fundamentally, what's also a concern is being able to have the technology available across your entire product range.
Mm.
And you may have IoT, some products which are IoT enabled, but
Mm.
if you're looking at a multi-product organization which has got hundreds of products, you want to be able to you want to be able to have an entire range which is digitized and then
Mm.
connected, and
Well,
and that is just your own ecosystem, right?
right.
This entire thing makes a lot more sense if it is plugged into the ecosystem of your customer, which is giving
Mm.
you information around it as well.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Right. So
Okay.
so those are the kind of gaps that come in. So that's
Okay.
so
Mm.
that's particularly around the data
Sure.
challenge.
Sure. Sure.
The second part, I would say, goes into some of the uh, I would say, how is the problem definition being defined?
Mm. Mm.
And I think in terms of challenges that you see, it's easy to probably look at a small challenge and say let's let AI handle it.
Mm.
But can are we looking at the challenge in the context of the value chain? Looking
Mm.
at the right data, is it available? Does that data available in a snapshot, or is it going to be continuously available to us?
Mm.
Because those are important things in an ongoing context.
Okay.
Uh, and I think somewhere down the line also comes in the cultural aspect of the minds
Okay.
and the mindsets and the talent. You know, uh, as manufacturing companies,
Mm.
the A/B testing model is not a very is not very conversant. Even we don't really do that on a regular basis,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. So
Yeah,
true.
but
So
but
true.
tech companies, for
Yeah,
tech companies, it's kind of intuitive thinking.
yeah,
Any
exactly.
problem is let's A/B test it.
Exactly,
Uh,
exactly. Because
yeah,
software is easy, but
yeah,
hardware, yeah, it's
yeah.
complex. So yeah,
Absolutely. So some of those challenges, and I think one thing that from what one thing A/B testing enables you to do is
mm,
experiment at a micro level, but it also needs significant amounts of patience and iterativeness,
correct, correct.
right? And I think that's a mindset issue, but also
Mm,
because we're dealing with physical goods, the
mm,
ability to iterate is not as fast as
mm.
in a software environment.
Right, right, right. So technically, if A/B testing itself is very expensive to set it
Yeah,
up. Like
yeah,
in software, it's not expensive.
right.
Your time is, of course, but in a setup, manufacturing, again, A/B testing is hard. You touched on one point, Vicky, when you were explaining this, how you define the problem, right? That sounded interesting to me. Why do you say that? Any given example how to define how it's being defined, how it has to be defined differently for AI or think overcome challenges? Give an
Uh,
example that.
I think one of the things with AI
Mm,
is that it involves a significant amounts of training,
mm,
and in that period there is very little outcome.
true.
And then you go into a process of maybe a pilot where you start seeing something, and then you got to scale it up. And at
Yeah.
that point of time, that point of time, you got to be really confident in the data that you have,
True.
right? Now, a lot of what we do in AI also involves changes in the workflow surrounding it. So
Hmm.
it's not just one problem. I have the same workflow, and in that workflow now, instead of an individual doing it, now there's a AI doing it.
Hmm.
It doesn't fundamentally work that way. So
Hmm.
when you get to that stage, I think rethinking the problem in the context of the value chain
Hmm.
becomes important, because the workflow will change.
Mm. So, okay, so it's a very connected organism. Like you
Right.
connected pieces. You cannot touch
Right.
one type. I'll improve this, and it might have a downstream impact. You have to think
Right.
holistically how it's
Right,
going
right.
to other
I
parts.
mean,
Yeah.
let's look at it something simple, right? You deploy an AI algorithm for better prediction of a certain outcome based
Mm.
on certain amount of data that it's trained on.
Correct.
But that data that it's trained on depends upon what's the input to that workflow.
Mm.
Now if the data changes
Yeah.
around it, or the users start doing something different around it, how is
Mm.
the algorithm going to
Yeah,
respond
it
to
can.
that? Because
Right.
because it's fundamentally trained on a set of data which is now changing, or
Mm.
and users might may look at it because now either they are offloading it to AI, or
Mm.
because of governance issues or a variety of issues. I mean, human
Mm.
beings are not very predictable in that
That's for
sense.
sure. That's for sure. But now AI agents are also mimicking humans,
Yeah,
so they are also not becoming very unpredictable. Very interesting.
yeah,
So this gives a perspective on the challenges, Vicky.
yeah.
Let's go to the I would say the third section. Um, What's the advice you give to other leaders, others in manufacturing? You want to bring AI into operations only on manufacturing, and it can be generic to anybody's bringing AI into their operations. And the second part to it is any trends you talked about agents before, but any trends people should keep an eye on, right? That'll be great.
Uh, I Okay. Let me first, full disclosure. I'm in the market for advice on AI, so
Okay.
very happy to receive good advice
Okay.
on how we could improve
Yeah.
this.
We are
Uh,
on the same boat,
yeah,
Vicky.
yeah,
Everybody.
absolutely.
Yeah.
But what I would consider is, I think it's. Let me reflect back on something that when you and me were both at Databricks.
Yeah. Right.
Something that came across to me in one of the forums. was that a lot of people are waiting to have
Mm,
the right data architectures and
mm,
governance before
mm.
you get on with the AI implementation.
True. True.
One of the sessions that I found very interesting was
Mm,
talking about actually not waiting for it simply because the field is moving so fast, and
mm,
to look at where it is where we can apply it today, so that you start moving around it, moving
true.
quickly. And that resonated with me
Mm,
for a couple of reasons. One is
mm.
that doing these experiments or starting off small enables you to do it in a low risk environment. At the same time, it enables you to build organizational capability and capacity
Absolutely.
around the
Absolutely.
subject.
Absolutely.
And I think that's very important, because if you're looking at AI being enterprise wide, we're
Mm,
also looking at uh, capability and capacity in the organization to understand data.
mm.
And it's not just about being good at, I want to kind of dumb it down, if you don't mind, but it's not about data as in numbers. It's about
Mm.
uh, what data is relevant in this context, where is it available, does do my systems enable me to capture it? If not, what
Absolutely.
can I do?
Mm.
Are there third party platforms that provide me some of this information?
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
reliable is that data? I think
Exactly.
those questions are kind of a learned thing. It's
Mm.
very difficult to plug it in, at least in
Absolutely.
our context, because all of this is very business and sensitive. So,
Absolutely.
what's applicable for Forbes Marshall may not be applicable for another company. And
Absolutely.
therefore, maybe starting off on the journey early on enables you to build this capability
Great
internally.
advice. Great advice. I just want to add to that point, Vicky. What we are observing also is, I would say, AI into AI and Gen AI, right? AI with more taking a data, developing models, predictions, one set of actions. Then there is LLM based, agentic based, yeah, workflow, these things. In this new world, you're absolutely right. We are all learning because
Hmm.
this is a technology that is has great potential, and it also comes with unpredictability, right? The same question,
Yeah,
you're not going to get the same results twice, right? So there is some level of unpredictability, and you're also learning to work with it, right? So it's like a new employee joining, right? By the 6 months, probably that employee is more productive, but it's an intern or somebody joining, that person will be very effective. But initially, we have to handhold them, we have to know how to work with them, right? So
right.
that's one thing is very important with AI is this whole people are, oh, I'll dump the data, let AI figure out. It's not so right? Because
Yeah, yeah,
it's not that predictable. It's not then you are going to build the systems around AI, right? So LLMs are good thinking. It just brings a lot of intelligence. Now you have to think about the system that is going to bring in the context. And then you say context, is this the right data, relevant
right,
data, freshness? You're pulling a data 2 year old versus there is a latest document that came last month.
right,
So freshness also matters. So there are many things that retrieval has to take care, or your data, that system, whichever you're building. In this case, many are building MCP, these kind of things. So bringing data or the context, I would say, into matters. Then the actions part, right?
right,
Then what are the actions you are going to take? So that also you're going to learn because how much autonomy you're going to give, right?
right.
You're right. You're
Absolutely.
going right. So
Do you
if
have
you
a
say,
human in Do you have a
yeah,
human in the loop, for example? And
yeah,
how confident are you about the data that you're using in the first place?
exactly.
Bad data, bad data with AI is going to be a disaster. The foundation of
Absolutely.
artificial intelligence is the data. So, uh,
Right. Then the whole that brings to the whole concept, the risk, right? The responsible
right,
AI kind of risk, which
right,
is, hey, is it reliable? Is it
yeah,
transparent? I can go and see where the mistakes
right,
are, I can see it, audit and transparency. Then the whole data security governance compliance that Protecto deals with. If you're
yeah,
bringing data, if data can leak, you might under compliance. Just had a call with a company that's dealing with HIPAA, their medical device. Again, they're bringing data in. So they want to use AI, but HIPAA is a big regulation they had to take care, right? So
Right.
there are compliance, data privacy, these kind of risks you have to take care. So it's all the components you are going to build around an AI, like an agent or an LLM, is
Right.
becomes critical. So it's not that you can do it in a week, right? Or it
Oh, you
might,
can't.
right?
Yeah, you
You can
can't.
do
It
it. You
takes
can get to
more.
a production is a very different story. In a POC,
Right.
yes, with a week or two,
Right.
you can do some POC, but production will take time. Your organization has to grow. Your talent has to within the organization has to grow. Your leadership mindset has to grow. How to think about an AI, like you said, first few months it'll be the ROI will be almost zero or negative,
Yeah.
right? Because we are
Negative,
investing,
probably. Yeah. Yeah.
right? We are
Right.
investing a lot,
Yeah.
but eventually there should be a hope that, yeah, it's not like an application we launched like ERP or a CRM application we got productive this day one. This after 6 months it will be super useful. The patience from the leadership,
You
yeah,
are
the
absolutely
whole
right. And to be honest, even a ERP or a CRM can be significantly held back if you are not looking at the right data during
correct,
the
correct,
time of the transformation.
right, right.
And that becomes very critical even for something like an ERP or a CRM transformation. So if you're
True.
looking at that feeding into AI, it will kind
Yeah.
of compound the effect of poor data.
Right, agree. Totally agree. So this is we had planned for 30 minutes. We
Yeah,
almost slightly about 30 minutes. Love to have give few more minutes. Any
for sure. Yeah.
parting thoughts? Any ideas or something to give to the listeners? That'll be great.
Uh, um, so I think I might look at it from one perspective, which is trust in AI, right?
Mm,
And I think that's there's this question about, can we trust AI to do certain things, and can we trust it with operations? Can we trust it with decisions? Can we trust? And I thought, and I've been pondering over that point,
mm,
and
mm,
recently I think I should credit one of our LBS professors for this,
mm,
who brought this to our attention. Of
mm.
course, in a very different context, but I am
Sure.
now extrapolating it to AI.
Yeah, yeah.
This was, I mean, looking at the trust, the trust formula or something. I think
Mm,
if you look at trust advisors, they
mm.
have something called as a trust equation, which looks
Okay.
at trust is credibility, reliability, intimacy divided
Mm,
by the self orientation. So the higher the self orientation, the lower the trust, and
mm.
this is probably defined in the context of customer relations, or
Right, right. But it's
right.
totally
But if
applicable to I can see it. Yeah, please.
absolutely, but if I can take this in the context of AI, I think I
Mm,
would I would talk about credibility being the data that we're training AI on. How
great.
how you know how
Mm,
credible is that data? Is
mm,
that data something that we have confidence on? In terms
mm.
of reliability, I would look at whether the model itself and the algorithm is being defined in a manner where it's giving us the right outcomes in a reliable way without hallucinations,
Okay.
uh, without errors. Is it fast enough? Is it auditable? Those questions come around the reliability. In terms of intimacy, it would probably be around how explainable are the solutions, how
Mm,
easy is it to have to use it. That
true.
builds intimacy between the user and the fact that it's a
Right.
lot more usable. So the user interface, of course, is important. Explainability is also important,
Yeah.
right? And in terms of the self orientation, what I would do at this point of time is not look at self orientation of the AI, but maybe of the user, you know,
Mm,
right? And look at the user who's using this artificial intelligence.
yeah.
Are they in a context of being able to use? Have they been, for example, trained to use AI? Because
Mm,
that's an important aspect.
true.
How do you seek the right answers?
Correct.
Is a very important aspect. Are the recommendations auditable? So does it build something out there? Right.
Mm,
And fundamentally, is the user being threatened by AI? or being complement, or is the user's work being complemented by AI? Because those are motivations that actually will affect the user to trust this thing that does not really exist
Absolutely.
in front of them,
Absolutely.
but exists
Absolutely.
in a workflow somewhere or in a computer
Mm,
somewhere. And the reason I thought trust is important is because more and more we're looking at AI being companion to us
mm.
as
Yeah.
opposed to a tool. While we call it a tool, it's becoming more and more a companion, and the
Mm.
need to trust this companion is
Yeah.
I think it's a significant thing to trust this companion that we're going to all work
Oh, fantastic framework, Vicky. I think you should write a blog post on this.
with.
Like, this is so true because
I
what
don't. Yeah,
you touched, right? It's a
yeah,
human. Trust is so human, right? We
yeah,
trust a system, we trust a human. It all depends on the factors you mentioned.
yeah,
Same thing thanks to AI. This is
yeah,
something you have to trust with our work. Our attitude towards it also
yeah,
matters because
yeah,
I might, if I see threatened, and I'll give thousand reasons why I won't use AI,
yeah,
right? If
yeah.
I'm a person, I'm threatened by AI. If my boss comes or anybody, customer comes, I'll give thousand reasons why I cannot. Yo, it's not reliable. This, that, its cost is high. It's take too much time, whatever. But if
Right.
I change my mindset that hey, this is something that's going to
Yeah,
help me, I'll find thousand reasons to use it, right?
you're
So yeah,
absolutely right. Yeah,
yeah,
and also the importance of then comes in the change management and how do you
yeah,
communicate the
true.
implementation of AI to teams and to people, so they have a lot more confidence in what's going on, and don't feel threatened by the fact that this comes and 6 months later I don't have a job. Uh,
Yeah.
I mean, and I think the call center industry is an example. They've faced some of these challenges, right? You
Mm,
you
mm,
you you invest in training the model, and after some time you're on bench. That
mm.
creates significant amounts of anxiety in the individual doing this
Yeah.
activity.
Right. So true. Yeah, this is a fantastic way to end this conversation, Vicky. So, love to see that blog post from you. This is a fantastic framework, the
It's a
trust
great idea.
formula,
Thanks.
right? A trust formula for AI because it's very well needed in the space because everybody's having their own interpretation of trust,
Yeah,
and it's a very big piece that we also contribute as a protector in terms of
absolutely.
trust,
I mean,
right? Yeah.
you contribute significantly in the trust domain, actually.
Yeah, yeah. So that is our goal to make this whole thing trusted,
Yeah.
responsible, so that people can adopt technology.
Yeah.
Um, Thanks again, Vicky. It was a fantastic half an hour. We went a little over half an hour. Great conversation. I walked away with key takeaways. Hopefully, our listeners also got away. Love to catch up in few months again and see where you are in the journey, and
Absolutely.
keep us posted.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Amar, for having me. It was great to connect and chat up again. I do hope that the listeners have found some meaning in our conversation and can take certain things forward. I'd of course love to chat up otherwise with you as well. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Bye.
Yes. Bye bye.